4 unsolved mysteries that will leave you confused. The world we live in can get strange at times. Crazy things do happen, and we're not referring to the supernatural occurrences. The happenings on our list are man-made, making them even more frightening. They are 4 in number, and we wish we could do more. Perhaps you have stories from your locality. Keep watching, and let's compare notes. Stay till the end, because in a minute, we'll tell you about the 4 unsolved mysteries that will leave you confused. Number 1, the Miyazawa family massacre. This happened in Japan around the year 2000. And since then, the mystery of who killed the family is still unsolved. The Miyazawas lived in a town that had slowly dwindled over time, and its inhabitants opted to move out. The family were soon only one of 4 families that still called the town home, even though they planned to move out too. In addition, their grandmother lived just next door, and their 2 children always went to her house to play. The perp could access the house through a bathroom window on the night they were massacred. And then he headed straight for the little boy's room and strangled him in his sleep. The father thought he heard some noise upstairs, so he left his desk to check it out and met face to face with the killer. A struggle ensued, but the father got stabbed and his body fell down the stairs. The killer then proceeded to finish off his wife and their daughter. They were sleeping in the attic, and he took his time with them. Investigators would later discover that the murder of the females was much more graphic. Afterwards, the killer was in no hurry to leave the crime scene and stayed all night. He even had a nap at some point and changed his clothes. He left some other telltale clues to taunt the investigators. Traces of his blood were found on the scene. He eventually left the house at 10 a.m. the following morning, which was quite bold. The grandma would soon find the lifeless bodies of her family. So far, it's been close to 22 years since this case happened, and investigators are yet to solve it. But at least investigators have figured out that the perp is of Euro-Asian descent. The waste bag he was carrying on the night also contained sand from an army base in America, of all places. It was also reported that a man fitting the killer's description stopped at a hospital in another town to get a deep wound on his hand fixed. Then he disappeared without giving away his identity. Number 2, Blair Adams' last days. This is another long-term mystery cold case that is 28 years old. Its details were documented on CCTV across 3 different US states, but this hasn't made the work of investigators any easier. Before the happenings, Blair's mother told the authorities that he mentioned certain people were spreading rumors and trying to blackmail him. And so this adventure started in Canada. Just before he ran from his so-called blackmailers, Blair visited the bank and withdrew all his money. He also emptied his safe deposit box of its contents. These included a few gold bars, platinum coins, and some expensive jewelry. So, essentially, he was a walking target for robbers. Next, he tried to enter the US across the lake from Victoria into Seattle by ferry. He was intercepted at border control for carrying such a sizable amount of cash and valuables. Next, he then tried to enter the US illegally on foot. He was apprehended yet again, but third time lucky, he was able to secure a pass at yet another border post. This time, he was driving a rented car. His next move was to buy a one-way ticket to Frankfurt, Germany. He knew someone there, but ultimately missed the flight somehow. He exchanged his ticket for a flight to Washington, D.C. Instead, when he arrived, he rented a car to go to Knoxville. It was here he would be found dead. Mind you, all of this was captured on public CCTV cameras. This is how investigators were able to piece the story together. He stopped at a gas station and then proceeded to a motel. The footage shows him pacing the lobby for a while before trying to rent a room. But before the clerk could run his card, Blair left the lobby in a hurry, which was the last we saw of him. His body was eventually found at a hotel site under construction. He was half naked in his rented car, and his bounty cash was mostly intact. This suggested that whoever got him wasn't after the money. This happened as far back as 1996, and to date, no one knows what exactly happened. Number 3, the disappearance of Diana. This is not the famous British princess who died in an unfortunate car crash. This distinction is important because she has been missing for nearly 30 years. At this point, she would be close to 65 years old. She was 40 when she was last seen. She also had children and was married. But her story's most intriguing and sad aspect is that she was bipolar. As a result, she was going through a tough time in her life. She had lost custody of her kids due to this diagnosis and was in the middle of a divorce. She also took up heavy drinking and illicit drug use during that time. She might never have sunk so low if she had consistently taken her prescribed medication. At some point, her family intervened, and she started to recover. She stayed with her sister during her rehabilitation, and things started slowly returning to normal. But what happened the night she disappeared still baffles investigators and her family. It was as if she had cracked under pressure, and irrespective of her progress so far, she was spotted at a bar drinking wildly, then again, and her car was pictured driving on the Florida to New York road. Along the way, she called her mother's answering machine. You can hear a scuffle in the background as Diana forcefully asks someone else to return the phone. When a search ensued, police found a bag of Diana's clothes neatly folded in a Ziploc bag, placed in an outdoor freezer at a convenience store in Odessa. Before now, police had found bloodied fingers proven to belong to Diana. It would take another 2 years for more folded clothes belonging to Diana to be strategically placed mysteriously. Number 4, the Circleville writer. But Diana's family still hold out hope that she will be found. Not least, Diana's aging mother, who has been the real champion in that regard. This is one of those unique stories you hear about and can't help but exclaim, "Whoa." The story would make for a great blockbuster thriller movie script. Mary is one of the protagonists. She is a married school bus driver who has an illicit affair with the principal. At some point, she receives an anonymous letter in her mailbox. Upon opening it, it tells her that she is being watched and that the writer of the letter knows about her secret sexual affair. He threatens to expose her if she doesn't stop. Mary is concerned, but decides to ignore this threat for the time being. A week later, another letter comes in, and when Mary ignores that one too, the writer sends one to her husband. Imagine the dilemma of being threatened over your wife's infidelity. But Mary denies the affair, and they both ignore this charlatan. Yet another letter is sent to Ron after 2 weeks to expose his wife's infidelity or face the consequences. Both Mary and Ron then decide to reply to this mysterious blackmailer. They assume it's one of their relatives, so they send desist messages to anyone with a bone to pick with them. This doesn't work, and Ron gets a call on the phone one fateful night. Afterwards, he is upset and rushes outside with his shotgun. He tells those around that the writer just called and is lurking outside. A few minutes later, his family gets the sad news. Ron is involved in an accident just down the road. Witnesses say a gunshot was heard before Ron crashed his car into a tree. Mary, on her part, still receives more letters. And it seems this blackmailer is relentless. So Mary eventually confesses, yet the letters don't stop coming. On her usual bus route to the school, Mary tries to tear down a disgraceful billboard put up by this writer. It turns out it is rigged to fire a gun if she tries to tear it down. Mary narrowly misses being killed, and the gun utilized is linked back to her brother-in-law. He is arrested and ends up serving 10 years in the can. Everyone thinks he is the writer, but the letters keep coming to other Circleville residents. So Mary's brother-in-law was innocent all along. He is eventually released and has since died of natural causes. And funny enough, The writer is still out there because he threatened the producers of a mystery-themed show if they aired the Circleville story. Crazy stuff. We're sure this is only the tip of the iceberg regarding international mysteries. Are there any such stories from your locality? Let us know about it in the comments section, and remember to subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell button to see more of our videos.